The Fiend returned on SmackDown. The Fiend returned and he aligned with Alexa Bliss and attacked Kevin Owens, who was also there for some reason. Welcome to the WrestleTalk WrestleTalk podcast review of SmackDown. I am Corporate Chopper. I'm joined by Randy Andy Datson. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about on this SmackDown review, the main talking point, is that The Fiend finally returned to SmackDown. It hasn't been seen since Payback at the end of August, so he's been gone for pretty much a month. Seen Bray Wyatt on the Firefly Funhouse with, Wobbly Walrus getting introduced and all that stuff, but we haven't seen The Fiend. Obviously, we've had loads of teasers with the Alexa Bliss stuff, and I said on last week's review, I was like, man, this Alexa Bliss story is really good, but I want something else to happen now. I'm getting a bit bored of this whole, someone says The Fiend, and she does a Sister Abigail thing. Okay, I get it. Now, what's the next step? This was the next step.
They've clearly been watching you, Pete. They've clearly been watching you. They saw, oh, man, well, if that guy wants something more, we're going to bring back The Fiend for the first time in a long time. And you know what? It was great to see him.
It was, wasn't it?
Now, sometimes you sort of forget that actually he's pretty spooky. And he really adds like an extra dimension to the show. And like, I'm not the sort of biggest fan of sort of supernatural gimmicks. I think they're a bit hokey, especially in sort of 2020 when no one's really involved in the kind of kayfabe side of things anymore. But yeah, he's sort of the right level of doing it. And sort of once again, you're thinking, wow, who's writing on SmackDown and who's writing on Raw? Because you think, wow, they're really doing good things on SmackDown. You sort of, every time you think, oh, the way that this is how they should do this, they may not do it exactly that way, but they do it in another good way rather than the way they've been doing it on Raw, which is, what's the most boring way we can do this? And then doing that.
Yes, exactly. But the segment itself, it was the Kevin Owens show. Kevin Owens, a Raw talent, was brought over to SmackDown for reasons. What is the brand split? It's the draft next week. What's the point? Why even have a draft if people can just turn up anyway? And they said it's part of, the cross-brand invitational, which apparently was quarterly the last time it happened with Cesaro and Nakamura, which was like a few weeks ago. So it's a really quick quarter, if that's the case.
Maybe that was the end of the quarter, and this is the start of a new quarter.
And this is the start of the quarter, which doesn't make sense. Because Kevin Owens is back next week, so
No, it is, because it's October, November, December. That's 3 months of the year. That is a quarter, and it's just the start of. So they're not allowed any more now for the rest of the year.
Apart from next week when Kevin Owens comes back, but
he's on the draft.
Shut up. He's not been drafted yet, so they shouldn't have announced it. They should have just said, he's here. Oh, wow. What a crazy coincidence. He got drafted to SmackDown. But yes, it was Kevin Owens show with Alexa Bliss as his guest. Kevin Owens comes out wearing a Street Profits shirt because why not, I guess. And I really like the back and forth between him and Alexa because it felt, obviously it was very scripted, but they made it feel somewhat natural, which is nice. Kevin Owens, obviously an amazing promo, and Alexa, I think, did really well as well, of Kevin just being like, just questioning her about this new kind of like darkness that she's got and why is she changing and all that stuff. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine. And then he's like, come on, you've quite clearly changed. And she's like, yeah, people change. Like, you should try it sometime, which I thought was a great line. Yeah. And then Alexa cut this really good part of the promo, I thought, when she essentially outlined how she feels about the Fiend, but she managed to convey such like fear in her voice and her facial expression, while saying how much she like not necessarily idolized him, but was like enthralled by him. And she said like he's terrifying and captivating at the same time, and her voice was like shaking the whole time she was doing it. She's like, have you ever been around him? Like it was a really good promo. I really liked it. And then the next line really got me as well, where Kevin just really bluntly just went, you've been brainwashed. And Alexa just said, yeah, I have. My brain has been washed. Now the lies have been washed away, and now I can see the truth. It's just it's a really hokey back and forth, but they made it really work. It felt like it was really natural.
It's a religious cult almost, but like, what was I going to say? I had something good, Pete. I had something good I was going to say, but me, I forget things very quickly. What was I going to say?
Well, while you're thinking of that, go to the next bit where, the other bit I really liked from this was Kevin Owens not being an idiot and him just knowing, just like, he's here, isn't he? Like he's gonna come get me, which makes a lot of sense because that's what the Fiend does. And Alexa had a brilliant response of, he's everywhere, and I can hear him now. Let him in. And as she said that, lights cut out. Fiend comes out. Spooky violins play, red lights and everything. Mandible claw to Kevin Owens down to the ground. Turns around to Alexa, who has not moved, who's just continuing to sit in her seat as she was before, and he just extends his hand out. Alexa takes it, and she stands up, and then it cuts. And I was like, that's really cool. I'm really into this. Yeah, it was a really, really good segment, and it's just what I wanted. It was the next part of the story. It was perfect.
It's that kind of, I remembered it, it's that kind of sort of Stockholm syndrome thing where you sort of start to feel kind of attachment to your captor.
Yes.
And that's clearly the sort of thing they're going for. Like she is terrified of him, like you would be of someone who's kidnapped you, but also you're like, no, but he's misunderstood. You don't understand him the way I understand him. And also I figured it out. Kevin Owens was swapped for Dana Brooke.
You reckon?
Yeah, because obviously they swapped AJ Styles for Mandy Rose. So they're done now the other way. It's Kevin Owens for Dana Brooke. It's a really fair deal there for both Raw and SmackDown.
Totally, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I thought this was really, really interesting. I'm still really invested in this Alexa feud. It's the second best thing on the show behind Roman, but not by much, though. I'm really, really liking the story. I really don't know where it's going to go from here. I don't know whether Kevin's going to get drafted. Like we mentioned, it's the draft next week on SmackDown. So I don't know whether Owens is going to get drafted and he's going to enter straight into a feud with The Fiend, which I'd be all for. Or whether it's going to be The Fiend is going to kind of come out and just wreak havoc on random people that Alexa takes beef with. There's loads of different ways it can go. I mean, it did get announced next week on the draft show that it will be Fiend versus Kevin Owens. The Fiend's first SmackDown match. Mental, that.
Here's what I want to see. Has he never had a Bray Wyatt match?
He might have had a Bray Wyatt match, but The Fiend has never appeared on SmackDown, which is crazy. Never wrestled on SmackDown, I should say.
What I want to see is The Fiend destroy Kevin Owens and then Kevin Owens get drafted to NXT on the Wednesday.
I mean, NXT is probably not part of the draft because Triple H said he didn't know anything about it and was being locked out of the plans and had to tune in and wait and see what happens with his brand. But that would make so much sense if The Fiend attacked him and then he reverted to his old Kevin Owens and went down to NXT again. Oh, that would be so good. I'll do that, please. I really want that now. Mainly because I just want that Kevin Owens back in NXT because he was really, 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 really good. But yes, there's lots of ways this feud can go, and I'm thoroughly excited for all of them. I think
it's for Mixed Match Challenge. It's the return of Mixed Match Challenge. It'll be
Alexa
Kevin
and
Owens,
The Fiend.
Yeah, and Kevin Owens and Dana Brooke.
Yeah,
because they swap for each other.
What a great pairing that.
Yeah, and then you've got the Braun Strowman being really jealous because The Fiend's pairing with Alexa, because obviously they had Little and Big and Little, what it was called last year. And that's how you continue their feud. It's Mixed Match Challenge.
It's so perfect, and it makes perfect sense also that Braun was on Raw Underground as well. It fits in so well somehow.
His name has the word Raw in it.
Sort of.
Row.
Monday Night Raw. But anyway, really, really good segment. Thoroughly excited for where this next thing goes. Before we get on with the full play-by-play of the rest of the show, just going to talk very, very briefly about a new thing that's coming on Monday. A brand new channel that we're launching about board games. This has got nothing to do with wrestling. It's all about board games. Adam Blombier can explain it better than I can, so listen up.
Do you like board games? Then you'll love Phenomenerds, a channel all about the best board games your money can buy. Do you not like board games? Then you'll love Phenomenerds, a channel all about why you're f***ing wrong. If the only game you've played is Monopoly, a bad game with your family, a bad family, we're here to show you all the good times you and your friends are missing out on. We'll teach you the different types of board games out there, great ones to start your collection, how to host gaming nights, how to teach your friends rules. We'll have deep dives into classic games, crazy stories from board gaming history, drunk board gaming, and so much more. At Phenomenerds, we consider it our sacred duty to get you into the greatest hobby in the world, no matter what level you currently are. So subscribe to Phenomenerds now and get on board.
So yeah, Phenomenerds coming on.
I actually played Codename last weekend. Yes, good fun game. So yes, watch Phenomenerds. It's going to be great. Adam loves them, and therefore you can know for sure that it's going to be the most passionate channel on YouTube.
Yes, it's going to be really, really good. Cannot wait for it. Launching on Monday, we've got a whole week's worth of content coming up on that first week. So go over there and subscribe now. But now let's get on with the play-by-play of the rest of SmackDown. The show kicked off with a recap of the Universal title match from Clash of Champions. And I know I was on the live reactions, but I've not been able to say this on the SmackDown review podcast yet. That match was perfect. Roman Reigns Jey Uso was incredible on the show. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I didn't know where they were going to go next after this. I thought it might have been a one and done with Jey Uso. And I keep suggesting things that I think they should do and I think would be perfect. And then they do something that's better than that. And I'm like, you know what? You guys are the actual people running it for a reason. And this, again, was something I didn't think they were going to continue on the feud with Jey Uso. But they did. And you know what? It's probably better than what I would have done. So
don't give them that much credit. They did do that women's karaoke segment. These are the same people who signed up on that. But yes, they're doing a good job of this one.
They are, yes.
Yeah, no, it's. I never thought I would sort of get along with the dynamic of Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, because I was just like, oh no, they just put Paul Heyman with whoever their top guy is. But it really, really works.
Yeah.
Like the kind of Paul Heyman will cut a bit of a promo, Roman will then cut the rest of the promo, or sometimes Roman will just stay quiet, sometimes Paul will just stay quiet. I much prefer it to the Paul and Brock dynamic, because I don't know. You could have got, I don't know. It got a bit tedious, the just Paul Heyman talking, because it was just, you know what the pro is going to be. It's going to be, he's the beast, he's undefeated, he's the conqueror. That's not a spoiler. That's a whatever it is. So
it's perfectly done.
That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
There we go. Well done. But yes, they came out and the segment was advertised as being Roman's coronation, essentially, as the tribal chief. And he came out and Paul Heyman initially starts cutting the promo, just being like, look, guys, I'm nervous because I want to call him the tribal chief. And Roman just like cuts him off, but he does so not with any active physicality or anything. All he does is literally just holds his hand out for the microphone, and that's it. And Paul just stops immediately and just hands the microphone over, just like, okay, you talk, I'm fine. Yeah. And then Romo continued on, and it was great. He was like, I don't want to be called the tribal chief right now because Jey wouldn't say it at Clash of Champions. Jimmy said it, his brother said it, but Jey didn't. So I'm going to make him say it. In fact, I want my cousin to come out right now. Jey came on out, and they had a really great back and forth. Really, really like this promo. Roman is a really good promo when he gets given a proper script and when he gets to actually be a character that fits him, not suffering succotash. When he does this, it's so good. I'm so invested in everything he's saying. And he just says it really calmly, like, like a proper deluded heel of him just being like, hey, man, I love you. Like, all I wanted to do is just give you like a proper main event slot. Just wanted to fight you for the Universal title. All you had to do was acknowledge me as the tribal chief, and you didn't. Like, it's not my fault,
Yeah.
Which is proper amazing heel
proper
work.
Like victim blaming, like sort of.
Yes.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself, Jey. It's your fault. I'm not doing it. You should have just said that, and I wouldn't have hit you. Like I did warn you. But yeah, and then it kind of Jey took it on, and would not stop staring at the belt, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. And they've agreed to another match at Hell in a Cell, which has what do they say? The biggest consequences in the history of WWE?
The biggest stakes of any match in WWE history.
Maybe it's an eating contest.
Maybe, yes. But yeah, he essentially said, you can't take your eyes off my title. Sure, you want another shot? You can have another shot if you want. Fine. And at the end, he comes in, he hugs Jey, but like kind of wraps the microphone around so you can just about make out what he's saying. And he's just saying, if I were you, I wouldn't take this challenge because I'm not going to be as nice this time. And then just walks off. I'm like, oh, that's good. I like that.
It's actually much more scary than your voice, Pete.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I just try. What are they? What possibly?
Can they
be to be unless it's a match with The Rock at WrestleMania? Like, but why would they wouldn't just do that like a couple weeks out from Hell in a Cell? Is if Jey wins, then Roman leaves the company, or I don't know.
I don't know. I am slightly worried that they've overhyped it, much in the same way that they did for, greatest wrestling match ever. Biggest stakes of any match in WWE history, and especially because later on in the show, Michael Cole, I heard him say that biggest stakes of any match in WWE history with real consequences. And I was like, are all the other consequences to everything fake then?
It'll be something like, you get entered number 5 in a gauntlet match for the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble, or I don't know.
I'm thinking it might be that Jey gets fired if he loses. I think that's pretty big deal. Or like he's disowned from the family or something like that.
Yeah, but that is not. I still wouldn't call it the biggest. Like it has to be something massive.
I'm thinking disowned from the family is. Does
he have to get a stink face from his dad? Like
that's pretty big.
Like his dad, who's just been like a 3-mile jog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever it is, I'm curious. I'm cautiously optimistic because everything in this story has been really good so far. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
I am wary that they have been known to overhype things, and I don't want it to just be like, "You get a shot at the tag championships."
Yeah, wouldn't be great. But yeah, he as Roman's walking away, he stops on the ramp, doesn't look back again. I love that little character trait from Roman, just not looking back at Jey, not worthy of turning around to look at him. And Jey says, "Whatever the stakes, you're on. Doesn't matter to me. You're on." Which is great. So we'll wait and see what those stakes are. But I feel like it's going to be something to do with the family. Like Jey,
I think it has to be either
Jey gets disowned. I reckon
it'll either be The Rock, which I think is a long shot, but that would be massive. That would be genuinely massive. Or it'll be something like the winner whoever loses has to leave WWE or gets. I mean, I can't. I can't see Roman leaving for because I know Roman does have aspirations of being an actor and stuff. I didn't finish the word, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, you're right.
And but I don't know. I can't see him leaving so soon after coming back. So yeah, I think it's got to be something family-wise. Maybe
I think he doesn't get to be called an Uso anymore. He gets disowned from the family, and he just goes by Jey.
Yeah, because Uso is brother, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah. It's definitely a familial term, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's why they call each other Us, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, afterwards, Jey's still in the ring after he says that to Roman. Roman walks away. AJ Styles comes out and essentially says, "You shouldn't get the Universal title shot. I should. I'm much more qualified than you. Doesn't really matter who's at the head of the table. You lost at Clash, so someone who's more qualified should have that shot." Jey gets ticked off, and they get into a match, which was fun. But I kind of wish that Jey got a bit more offense because AJ took about 85% of the match, and then Jey made a comeback, and then he won. And that was about it, which was a big win for Jey. He needed it, but I do wish that he won a little more convincingly if he's going to go on to fight Roman, because I want to believe that he can win. Like at Clash of Champions, they did a really good job of telling the story, but I never really thought that Jey could win. Like they did tell it really well, but for this one, you've got to build up Jey as a really, really super strong contender. Like the thing at Clash has like changed him, so now he's like an unstoppable, not monster, obviously, but he's like he's got this new fire and vigor in him. And this, I don't think, quite told that story.
I mean, I guess you could say he was sort of selling the beat down from, but he wasn't like there was no sign that he wasn't going my back or my chest. But I mean, it could just be the Jey and AJ starting a new tag team called JJ Styles.
After that, we get Sami Zayn backstage, who is cutting a "You People" promo. He said originally he was angry at management, but now he's angry at the fans because they went along with it the whole time.
Stupid fans.
And then he takes Jeff Hardy's Intercontinental Championship and throws it in the bin. It's fine. It's a good promo. I'm not too keen on "You People" promos these days, but it was good for what it was. Sami Zayn's still a very good promo.
Sami Zayn's good enough to to make it work.
Totally, yeah. Then we got the low point of the show, which was John Morrison faced Otis. Didn't get a move in. Otis won in about 30 seconds. There was no Miz, no Tucker. Otis is apparently representing himself in court. I don't know if that's how it works. And Michael Cole kept telling us that Otis is endearing, which makes him much less endearing. Morrison deserves better.
It's your endearing Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Like that's like you got Tribal Chief, the monster among men, the endearing Otis. Like I don't want to be like you wouldn't get that in like UFC, would you? Someone walking to the ring, you get like the Spider and all that sort of stuff. Not he's endearing, isn't he? Look, he's endearing. He's a bit chubby. He's going to beat you up. Endearing is what you call like your girlfriend's laugh or something like that, or like if she's got an embarrassing laugh, you'll go, "Oh, that's endearing." Yes. Not a professional athlete who should be beating people up.
But Morrison deserves better because I think he's been doing some really, really good work since he's returned to WWE, in ring and otherwise. He's been really, really good. I don't think he deserves to be getting beaten by Otis in 30 seconds.
But it's all right because they wouldn't do this match and then do an identical match with other people in it immediately afterwards, would they?
No, they wouldn't, because next they had Shorty G versus Sheamus, and Sheamus won in about 30 seconds, and Shorty G should really deserve more, because he's been doing some really good work since he's been called up to the main roster. Oh, wait, it is the same match twice in a row.
I was going to say, that sounded similar in my ears.
Yeah, God, that is... The commentators as well absolutely no-sold the bro kick when Sheamus said it. They were talking about Big E and talking about how Sheamus and Big E have been going back and forth. And then they go, oh yeah, Big E put out a challenge for a Falls Count Anywhere match next week. And, and then he hits the bro kick and they go, just don't know whether he's going to accept it, It's like, he just hit a bro kick. Sell it, man.
It's like, we know Chad Gable wasn't going to win. But at least go, oh my God, he's hitting with a bro kick, rather than... Well, we know he's going to lose, so there's no point in commentating on the match.
Exactly, because then there's no point having a match at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
you could have been much more effective if Sheamus cuts a minute-long promo on how he's the Celtic warrior and he's going to fight people.
I don't mind if he came out, bro kicked Chad Gable twice, as much as I love Chad Gable and he deserves better. If this is the story they're going to tell, the better way to do it is to come out, Sheamus bro kicks Gable twice, pins him immediately, then grabs the microphone and just be like, hey, this is what I'm going to do to you next week. Lol, 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 lol. And then he walks
or like, stop putting these dweebs in front of me. Like, I want some real meat. And
there was just no point to this match. I just don't get it. And it was at this point I wrote, this episode is really, really not as good as usual. For the last few weeks, they've been really good episodes, and this was not as good.
At least it's better than Raw.
That is true. After that we got the KO show with Bliss that we spoke about earlier, and then we got another thing which I didn't like, which was King Corbin, Cesaro, and Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle. Why? It's the same feuds. Again, they've been feuding for ages, all of these guys.
Yeah, this was the most Raw segment because it was just, this again. Yeah, you can tell how much WWE care about this because when I'm doing the images for the news, I go through the WWE.com, the best photos from the Blue brand. They didn't have a single... You wouldn't have, if you didn't know that this match happened and you went through those photos, you wouldn't know this match happened because they didn't have a single photo of anyone in it.
Interestingly, on Raw, they didn't have any photos of Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black.
Yeah, maybe that's just a thing they're doing now. Cutting out matches that they don't care about. Yeah,
Vince's least favorite match. Let's cut all those photos out. We don't need them.
It was a fine match. I
thought it was actually a bit boring.
It was fine. And the spot at the end where Kalisto kicks Cesaro.
No, he kicked Lindsay.
Oh yeah, no, but that was really badly done because it didn't look like he was trying to kick anyone else. Like he just looked like he was trying to kick his partner.
Which he could be trying to kick his partner. Yeah. That could be part of the story, but it looked a bit weird.
Break up because then. House party. There's no point.
He kicked Dorado, and then Cesaro turned around into Riddle, who then just hit a Broderick and won. And it was like, well, surely Cesaro should have been kicked for the distraction into Riddle, because then Cesaro dodged out of the way of the kick, looking really smart, and then just turned around into Riddle. It was like, well, this match just didn't match up for me. It was really weird. But I don't understand. I don't get this booking at all. Riddle and Corbin just constantly trading wins. Cesaro and Nakamura look really dominant on their pay-per-view matches and stuff, and then they lose. And then Lucha House Party, they've been teasing dissension for ages with Kalisto, and nothing's changing. It's what I was saying with the Alexa Bliss story last week. It's cool, I want to see the next part of the story, and they're just telling the same story every week now of just Kalisto is upset with them. Oh, he's done a thing that might upset them. Lince Dorado shoves him and they go, grrr, and then that's it. It's every week now. It's I also, they did a replay of Matt Riddle kicking off his flip-flops. Don't do that. It's bad. Continue, as you were.
I don't like Matt Riddle's new hair either.
No.
I think he looks silly, but there you go.
Yeah. No one is getting over from this booking. Stop doing it. Up next was Sasha Banks, who was still wearing the neck brace when she came out, which I liked, still selling the injury at least. Coming out, she got a good promo about Bayley, just saying that Bayley isn't here this week because she's scared of her. Don't know if I buy that, but sure. And then she said, interestingly, she's going to get her hands on the SmackDown Women's Championship next week on SmackDown. And I went, what?
Yes, this actually was my least favorite thing on the show. I was like,
really?
SmackDown next week? I don't think they're going to have the match. I think Bayley's going to attack her. But that is, even suggesting that this feud should be blown off on a random SmackDown. I know it's the draft, but that's not a pay-per-view. Even the suggestion that this feud would culminate on a SmackDown is F off.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's not WrestleMania, not Survivor Series, not even Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
SmackDown. Why? No.
Don't even pretend to just have Sasha is going to have a match against someone else next week, and then Bayley comes out and attacks her. It's just silly. Don't announce it if you're not going to do it.
Exactly. Yes. But then at the very end, she makes up for everything because she says bitch. And as we know, that's what you got to do. And then suddenly the feud is elevated to the next level.
Yes, it is.
The mystery woman revealed herself in the next segment. Oh my God, it's Carmella. Well, I never could have seen it coming.
Didn't I show you that? Where's the picture?
I got it. There you go. Yeah.
See? It was her all along, Austin.
Yeah. It was so shocking that it was Carmella. I never would have guessed. She cut another You People promo, the second promo of the night. The singing and dancing didn't get her anywhere. Now she's going to be her own person. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not your princess anymore. Sure, whatever.
I'm not your princess, but all my sort of promo packages so far have been me wearing high heels, a dress, and being sparkly.
Yeah, so essentially she's saying she's not the princess of Staten Island anymore.
I'm Emelina.
Is. Yeah, totally. Then we got the announcement of Kevin Owens versus Fiend next week and Big E versus Sheamus in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which I am looking forward to that one. I think that should be a pretty good match. I'm excited for that. Then we got the main event, which was Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy for the Intercontinental Championship. Why? Why do a rematch? Rematches are a thing of the past, supposedly. I hated that. Hated the fact that
I don't like that bit, but I don't mind the match.
Yeah, the match itself was pretty fun. Why Sami taped up and Jeff isn't? There's another question. Because then it just makes Sami look like the underdog because he's taped up.
Well, he is the underdog from the underground.
Ugh. The story of this match was that Sami Zayn removed the turnbuckle pad during Hardy's entrance. And he was standing in the corner back up to the turnbuckle so they couldn't see that the turnbuckle cover had been removed. And then kind of at the start of the match, pretty at the start, Sami teases just using it straight up. He wants to whip Jeff into the corner. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, which I very well might be. Probably. That's a DQ, right? If you use the part of the ring, heels always hide it from the ref that they've used it, right? Unless my memory is awful. People hide the fact they've taken the pad off the turnbuckle and then it's a DQ. That's why they hide it, right?
Let's have a look. Is an exposed turnbuckle a DQ?
God, we're professional, aren't we? We're good at our job. But regardless, I feel like that psychology didn't work. So it was like, well, why are you teasing using it if you were going to get DQ'd for it? It's something didn't gel for me on that one, but hey ho. But if it wasn't like that, then it was a very good match. If it's not a DQ to use the exposed turnbuckle, then the psychology for the match worked perfectly. I just thought that it was a DQ and it felt a bit off to me.
Right. So what someone said. The second, the exposed turnbuckle. Heels like to expose turnbuckles, and whenever they do, the ref lectures them about how they are being bad and such, and will attempt to put the cover back on when he has a free moment, but doesn't outright DQ them. So it's not a DQ to expose it,
Right.
but I feel like it should be a DQ to use it.
Use it? Yeah. Which,
like it happens all the time. Like, not all the time, but like I can't remember seeing someone directly DQ'd for hitting someone's head.
Because I always just feel like they're not very open with it. Like the heels actively trying to hide the fact that they've used the turnbuckle, which to me would indicate that it would have been a DQ if they got spotted, kind of thing.
Because I mean, often what happens is someone will take the thing off, the ref won't notice, and then someone will run at you, and then they'll get out of the way, and then they'll run into the exposed turnbuckle and go, "Ooh, that hurt."
Yeah, which wouldn't be a DQ because they didn't use it.
No, but it's the same kind of thing about. Why isn't throwing someone into the ring steps a DQ? Because that's not part of the ring. Or
through the commentary table.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, regardless, we're getting hung up on this one detail a lot. But if it wouldn't have been a DQ for Jeff running into the post or whatever, fine. This match worked really well because Sami Zayn is continuing to have this character where he's just smarter than you. He's just going to outsmart you in the ring. Doesn't matter whether it's underhanded or whatever. He's just going to do it better than you. And he had it here where he exposed the turnbuckle during Hardy's entrance. It was exposed the whole match. And still, Hardy climbed up onto that turnbuckle. What an idiot. And then Sami Zayn just pulled his legs out. He smashed his head on the exposed turnbuckle. And then Sami just pinned him straight off that. And Sami won.
I mean, Jeff Hardy's kind of character is that he's very hot-headed and will just kind of do anything. So I don't mind that part of it because like he of all people, he would be someone who would maybe not either not notice or just not care the turnbuckle exposed because he's like, oh whatever, I'm Jeff Hardy, I'm a high flyer. I'm good to see Sami win, but now he should move on to someone else. Like maybe whoever wins between Big E and Sheamus. Should then go, I want Sami Zayn.
Should be Big E, in theory. I'm well up for that. But then, so, a little pet peeve just before we get on to actually reviewing the show as a whole. I really hate it when the commentary does the thing where it goes, God, what have they got to do to put him away when they haven't hit any of their signature moves or any of their finishes? It's like, I don't know. Maybe any of the other moves they normally use.
He hit him and he hasn't pinned him. What is going on here?
God, what has he got to do to put him away?
Agreed. It's like when Seth Rollins hits a Falcon Arrow and he's like, how did that not pin him? Like, I've only ever seen you pin someone once with that move, and it was Dolph Ziggler, and everyone was shocked that you did that, including yourself.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, and the thing is though, if they hit a big signature move like a Blue Thunder Bomb, right, and he doesn't get a pin off it, he's very rarely got a pin off a Blue Thunder Bomb. I can still understand the commentary being like, oh, what an earful, oh man, it was so close. You almost put him away with that kind of thing. But when he hasn't even hit that, he hasn't hit a haluva kick, he hasn't done anything else in the match apart from, he hit like an elbow off the middle rope or whatever. And the commentary like, oh, what's he got to do? It's like, I could give you a handful of things, that might help that he normally does. Anyway, I'm getting hung up on that again. But anyway, that was a show. Overall, it was good. It's not as good as it has been in previous weeks. There was a lot of kind of the middle portion of the show, I think really like sagged it with those 2 30-second matches, the 6-man tag. It was all a bit, so I gave this a 3 out of 5. I think the Alexa and the Roman stuff was really good. Continues to be. I am cautious of the biggest stakes in a match of all WWE history. And I'm cautious of this whole Kevin Owens thing. I don't know what's going on with the draft and stuff like that. But it was good. 3 out of 5 for me.
I think that's pretty much bang on. Yeah, like that middle bit just felt like they went, oh crap, we've got 20 minutes to fill. Just go and do what we did last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But before we get out of here, we now need to say thank you to some very special people, and those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on Patreon. If you've not been to WrestleTalk's Patreon page, you can go over there and check out all sorts of bonus content. You can get your own exclusive pledge hammer t-shirt that if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see on the screen right now. And if you pledge at the $25 or above tier, you get your own custom wrestling nickname, and it gets read out on a show much like this one. So thank you to Black and Decker Dane. Woo! Thank you very much.
Philip Lita Dumas.
Woo! Thank you very much. The Wedding Crasher, Brandon Vaughan. Woo!
Thank you. Yeah. The Craftsman, Blake Carpenter.
Woo! Thank you very much. Wonderwall, Brian Gallagher.
The Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Woo! Thank you very much. The $100 Man, C.D. Horvey.
Oh, yeah. Super Kick, Nick Mizesko.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. The Hitchhiker, Micah Nab. Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. Will always mark out for Ollie Landrum. Woo!
Nice.
Thank you very much.
And finally, no one names their kid this anymore. Larry.
Really bad. That was really like convoluted. You would not roll your R there normally.
Hello, Larry.
That's bad.
Larry.
That's bad. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please press the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk things, and the button in the middle that will make you become a pledge hammer on Patreon. I have been Corporate Shopper. I've been joined by Randy Andy Datson, and that